This video is brought to you by Craven's Comic Books and Collectibles. Check out their weekly live show, auction, and sale at facebook.com/Craven's Comics every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can check out their inventory at cravenscomics.com. Craven's Comics, for the comics you crave. Welcome to the program, Larry Houston.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here, man.
Well, I'm really glad that you could come on the show. I found out about you by your extremely informative Twitter feed.
Oh,
You've been dropping knowledge on all the shows you've worked on recently, mainly the X-Men, of course, at X-Men Director is his Twitter handle. It's just been like such a fun wealth of knowledge to read these little tidbits that you've been dropping out there. I was like, I gotta talk more to this guy. So, yeah.
No, I didn't know that there were so many people on Twitter who were X-Men fans, and it wasn't until like Disney Plus requested myself and the story editors to go, get a Twitter account for to talk to the fans. I said, well, okay, well, give it a shot, see who's out there, and I was quite surprised. There's a lot of people who wanted to talk about it, and I have all this backstory stuck in the back of the brain somewhere. So yeah, I'll tell them everything I know.
Of course, yeah, man.
It's awesome because like when I found out you're going to be on the show, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I like talking to people in animation. But then I start looking at your credit list, Larry, and I'm just saying, like, you literally, without having met you before today, you have shaped my very existence with all of these, because I watched everything. I've watched all of this stuff, and I still watch it. Like it's very hard for me to find something on your credit list that I have not seen. Wow. It is, you literally have worked on everything. Like when you look back on your career like that, in that knowing that there are guys like me and many others, Andrew included, who have seen so much of your work and who have, whether directly or indirectly, have had an impact on who they are in their lives. Like, I got to imagine that that's got to be sometimes a little bit overwhelming for you.
It can be at times, but actually it's quite, it makes me feel good that the fact that a lot of us working in animation, sometimes we never find out if our efforts if people even saw the show, if people even remember what we did. And to have this type of recognition, once I retired, I did start doing comic book conventions, and people coming up to myself and the story editors about how much they liked the shows we worked on was like, it was gratifying, because most of our careers, we didn't know if you guys liked it or not,
Well, we did.
We definitely did. Oh my gosh. But looking back, well, I've always been a huge G.I.Joe fan. And so to find out that you were first there as a storyboard artist and then a director, in fact, you cut your teeth on animation directing on G.I. Joe, but then to also find out that you wrote an episode that's always remained in my mind. You co-wrote Hearts and Cannons.
Yes.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, like I didn't get the reference to it, but then when I, later on, I realized, oh yeah, it's a Road to movie. It's Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, and they're they're the best of friends until they meet a girl, and then suddenly they're rivals. And except this time, instead of it being an exotic princess in Morocco, it's a scientist that Cobra kidnapped, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I thought we could have some fun with it and do a lot more character stuff between the characters. Them trying to impress the girl, in 20 minutes. It's like, oh, you could have some fun with this. So that's what I wanted to do.
Definitely. And was there something specifically about you and the other writer picking Dusty and Footloose to be the two guys?
I let my partner pick two guys that had the personalities that they could play off each other the best. So we just kind of say, oh yeah, let's try these two, and we went with them.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's a great episode. And then of course, aside from working on the entire G.I. Joe series, you also animated the first 10 minutes of the motion picture, which the big budget G.I. Joe animated film. And of course everybody talks about that amazing opening credit scene with the Statue of Liberty, which is fantastic. And I know you've talked about that with a lot of people, Well, what I also really dug was Pythona's entrance into the Cobra Terrordrome, trying to get to
Right.
Serpentor. Because like a lot of episodes of G.I. Joe, they started with, somebody sneaking around, but the way you laid that out, that like there was a creepy element to it. It's like there was like for the first time I was watching G.I. Joe and I was actually concerned for the bad guys. It's like, what? This person's trying to get to Serpentor. What's going on? So
Yes.
what was it like laying out that sequence?
For me, it was I was like channeling my best cinematic. I wanted to make it as if it was a live action film, and I tried to imagine the shots of if I had a real actor, how could I make this look really cool and staying in and out of the shadows and playing with it. So I just kind of let my inner director loose and just had some fun with it, playing with Pythona, getting in there. And this time, like in the regular syndicated show, if you shoot a bad guy's plane, you got to show a parachute coming out all the time. Well, with Pythona, she didn't give a damn. She just went there, taking people out. It's like, okay, I don't have to worry about anybody. She's on a mission. She's gonna get to Serpentor and collateral damage be damned. She's just going for it. So that was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, no, that it's I love that movie a lot, and that and yeah, the opening sequence, that sequence with Pythona is amazing. When you look back at all of the shows, all of the product that you've worked on over those years, do you have one that stands out above all others that that is your favorite, that you've worked on?
Wow. The show that gave me the most I'm most proud of, I guess you could say, are the shows that are the series that gave me the most freedom. And those two series, sorry, really I can't talk, is X-Men and Johnny Quest. Because They pretty much gave me a lot of authority that I could do the films I wanted to do without anybody, overseeing, micromanaging me. And so, I worked on other, I wrote, although I didn't get credit for it, I got paid for it. I wrote one of the episodes of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, an episode called Swarm, where Spider-Man versus a guy made out of bees. And, I enjoyed that quite a bit. I wish I could have got credit for it. I didn't get the screen credit, but I did get the paycheck. A series that I think if I had to pick one episode out of the X-Men series, it'd be the first season, the last episode. It was called The Final Decision. And you got to imagine, back in season 1, there was no guarantee of a season 2. So that episode, I just put my heart and soul into it, because it's like, this is my last shot to do kind of anything X-Men, because after that, who knows? And so I just poured everything I could. I actually rewrote stuff and tried to create images that I had never been seen before. Like the Wolverine fighting the Sentinels and it's going dark to light, trying to play with. I was trying to play with cinema back then and stuff. And that, I guess, that would be the one I remember the most. When you asked me the question, that's the first thing that came to my mind was season 1, the last episode. And I established, it wasn't in the script. I established that Xavier and Magneto were frenemies, because the fact that he helped Xavier, fight the Master Mold, I wasn't in the script. I made it up. I took some dialogue that was in Act 2 and I put it in Act 3, and created that situation where it showed that they were frenemies. And then when Xavier's floating down on the parachute, they have little, talk to each other, and then Magneto flies off. None of that was in the script. I made it all up because I wanted to go out with a bang, so to speak. And we had our resumes out. Myself and the writers, we got to pay our bills. So that was it. And so we got lucky, then we got a pickup of a season 2 before we got hired somewhere else.
Nice.
Well, yeah, no, there you go. Yeah. And then, yeah, you guys had to, you got like, what was it? Like a technician in the studio just to do the Mr. Sinister line that you guys tagged on the end.
Yeah, because the way I set it up is like the ending shot is looking through a window. Xavier's like, you can see a reflections kind of like you can see through them. And in the distance, you see Jean and Scott on a blanket, sunset, fade out. That was it. That was the real ending. But when they said you got to pick up, you got to change that ending, so we had to move stuff around, have the engineer record something, and create this bogus little monitor. I mean, it's primitive today, but they created it real fast in post production, and added the computer shadow. And that was the new ending for season 1.
Yeah, well, and then it led to a number of great seasons, definitely. We got an email in from Ralph H. who says, "Hey, geeks, does Larry prefer to be a storyboard artist or storyboard director? I'm curious. Thanks." Thanks for your email, Ralph.
Okay. At this point in my life, I think I prefer being a storyboard director because I prefer having the total vision of the whole film, that I can mold it and make it into a good movie or a good TV show. I can still do storyboards, but I think having being able to craft the whole film is what I prefer to do today.
Definitely. And with X-Men, with that kind of freedom that you had, you really dug in deep and really like worked around the minutia and added in stuff. Like, I know that your knowledge of the comic book allowed you to add in characters that weren't into the script. Like, hey, we're on Genosha, there's these mutants here, let's make them Sunfire and everything like that. Or hey, we got Alpha Flight here, but Snowbird's not in the script. Well, I'm going to put her in there and stuff like that. And that it was that knowledge that made the best adaptation of the Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga. That, like, to this day, that's like those two groups of episodes are like my favorite things in animation, period, because they're the only successful adaptations of those stories. Definitely. Now, you've gotten to meet Chris Claremont. Did he ever get to check out those episodes?
I'm not sure if he did. We did meet him at 2 years ago. Myself and the story editors, we met at a convention in New Mexico, and he seemed to like the show. I don't know about those specific episodes, but he liked what we did, and I think the story editors gave him a cap that said, the cap they sell called Previously on X-Men. So if you look at Julia Leewald, I think she posted it maybe on her feed or X-Men, Eric's feed. It's somewhere. But no, he was nice with us and he enjoyed it. He understood that what we did was an adaptation, where we tried to keep the core feeling and intent of what he had and put it on the screen. And that was always my intent, is to, try not to change anything unless you have to. There's a reason why the books are successful. So just take the book and put it on the screen. That's to me, it's like so simple, but it is an adaptation. So you got to make changes, but you just don't make it because, hey, I'm a big producer and I want to do this. No. I don't have any ego. I'm a fanboy from back in the 60s all the way up to here. I know what, I have the gut feeling of what it is to be a fan and watch this stuff. And so for me, I step out the way and put the best on the screen. And if the little 9-year-old boy in me can be excited about what I'm doing, I think I'm on the right course.
And specifically with those stories, I know that you brought in your comic collection and got Xeroxes made so that you and your team could actually try to capture the certain frames from the comic, like Wolverine coming out of the water underneath the Hellfire Club and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, since I wasn't drawing every storyboard, I would, Xerox it and hand the guys, look, see if you can work this into the show, and I would hand it off to the different artists to try and work this shot in there somewhere. And if it can't, when the boards came back, if it wasn't there, or they couldn't figure it out, then I figured out a way to put it in.
That's awesome.
That is see, I'm imagining all the things that like yourself that you just described, like being a fan of, like if I ever had that opportunity like you did and work on something, like how I would totally be doing that. I'd just be putting in those little nuggets because, because that's what, to your point, like that's what fans really enjoy, right? Like when we look back at the X-Men, it's such a great series and it's such a great adaptation of those stories that it's like no wonder people love it so much. And I'm fanning out a little bit here, but thank you for doing something so awesome for us. It's now you've worked on a lot of IP over the years, was there, like when you look at the IPs, like was there ever a time where you were trying to get like your own project up off the ground that, and instead of an IP?
I guess when I was working every day, no, I wasn't trying to do my own IP at the time. I was just trying to pay the bills.
Right.
So literally I had no time because the work I was doing it would involve not only working in the daytime, but I'd have to take the work home and do stuff. And so I ran out of time basically. I think it was back in the mid 80s when I was a storyboard artist, working at Marvel in the daytime, like I think it was G.I.Joe and the Hulk or something. Then at nighttime, I was working from Till on the Masters of the Universe mini comic books. So I was kind of doing burning the candle at both ends until when they promoted me to being a director. Then I stopped doing the Marvel comic book. I mean, the Masters of the Universe comic books. I just ran out of time. So I think for them, I did maybe 10 or 12 mini books, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because, like, again, looking at your credits, it's just there's no break. That's what I noticed. There's zero break. So you were hustling for new gigs every single time.
Yes, I tell people that look, from the 80s and 90s, I was extremely blessed to be in the right place at the right time, to be hired on certain shows so that I just had fun. I mean, I was working on, Thundar and stuff like that. Had a chance to meet Kirby and Kane in person and talk to them like I'm talking to you. And it's like I'm geeking out, but I'm trying to control it. But I'm talking to these people, man. It's like Gil Kane. We took him out to lunch. Same thing with John Buscema came out for a week, and we took him out to lunch. And we picked his brain, and when he was drawing, he was working on the Spider-Man Amazing Friends stuff. And it was funny because when he would draw stuff for the titles and he didn't like it, he put in a trash can. Me and Rick, we were raiding the trash can. Like, you're throwing this away? Oh, thank you. We love that stuff. All of his little sketches, doodles and stuff was perfect. Let's see what else. It's from the 80s and 90s, it was like hitting the candy store. I mean, it was continuous employment, and the 90s was really good because it was like there was an explosion of cartoons on the networks, the syndicated stations, and I think USA Network was trying to get stuff off the ground, and it was like a explosion of outlets for cartoon shows and adventure shows and all the above. So it was really great. It was, when the business kind of like, dove down about year 2000, everything kind of like went away in terms of being a huge volume of work out there. But 80s and 90s, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
You definitely put out a lot of stuff that made us all have a lot of fun. Definitely.
Yes.
We got an email in from the co-host of another podcast I do called Back Issue Bloodbath, where we talk about comics. Petula Neal, she writes, "Hi, Andrew and Mr. Green. Question for Larry. Who do you think is a more manipulative parent, Eric Magnus Lenscher or Charles Xavier?"
Ooh, good question. Which one's a more manipulative parent? I I would have to, I guess I got to give it to, my first answer was going to be Magneto, but I was like, oh, I have to think about Xavier there. Because even though he doesn't have kids, he's the father figure for all of these people running around and, go over there and fight and risk your life. Go for it.
Come, child soldiers, I will show you the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Could be Xavier. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good question.
There you go. Definitely. We got another email from Sean C. This is a bit of a funny one. Hey, how is it that Larry went from all these amazing superhero creations to working on Care Bears? Wasn't that weird? I know it was work and money, but is that really his forte? Weird, man.
Yeah, that was a time in the mid 2008, 10, whatever it was, and adventure shows were on a download, and so I had to find work somewhere, and I had to talk my way into that job because I was not the very first choice to work on Care Bears, believe me. They had just finished a series of I think they were working on let's see if I can remember right. They had just finished a series called Dinotopia, and then they had just got a contract of to do a Care Bears. It was possibility the SD Entertainment. Yeah, that's the name of the company. And I had to talk my way into it. So like, look, I'm a director. I can direct, not just guys in suits and stuff. So when I proved them I could, do the job, they gave me. I did CBS Saturday Morning series, and when I proved that I could do that, then I got a chance to do 3 Care Bear movies. And, hey, it pays the bills, and it was fun.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. But now of course, over the past, like we've been in the pandemic for a while now. At the start of the pandemic and for a long time, conventions went away. Conventions are slowly coming back. And I know that you've at least gotten to go to one since the pandemic has happened.
Yeah.
What was it like to get back in front of fans after that hiatus?
Oh, yeah. Recently I went to Free Comic Book Day, and I had 2 stores that wanted me to appear at. So I divided my time between 2 different stores to be over here and be over there. No, it felt great. It's like it was just a sample of what would happen if the convention's over, would open up again, because there's a huge like bunch of it's like pent up demand that people want to get back and to what we used to have. And I enjoyed it quite a bit because I got a chance to talk to people about the show, answer questions, sign autographs. And one of the nicer things I like to do is pay it forward, because sometimes people who grew up on the show, they're in their 30s, they bring their kids, and some of them want to draw. And so I try and encourage the kids as best I can to what I learned, how I learned to be an artist, how I got my career started, and what they can do to become, better artists. And I try and give them little tips. I try and give them little drawings or whatever. But I always want to pay it forward to the next generation so that they can go forth and and be better than me. And it's not hard to do. It's like go ahead. The analogy I give them is like being an artist is like, the reason bodybuilders have these giant muscles is that they're always pumping, they're always exercising that muscle. And for young kids, you got to draw every day. And it doesn't matter what it is, just draw. So I tell them, get a little book, a little sketch pad, just draw something, whatever you like on page one. You can put it down, go play, whatever you're going to do. But the main thing is fill it up from front to back. But when you get to the last page, you compare the last page to the first page, you'll see an improvement in how you draw. It's a lot of hand-brain coordination to get the image from here on the page. So I tell the moms or the dads, get that form, let them draw whatever they want. It could be a tree, a rock, whatever it is. Just draw. And the more you draw, the more better you get. And it's okay to trace. Because I started off tracing. Everybody starts off tracing. Then once you get enough confidence, you can do it just by looking at stuff. So that's something I like to pay for the young kids who come there.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. That is really cool, man.
You were already cool to start with.
Yeah, and then
you're just
you're an
upping the
amazing human being on top of that. So that's like cool and super amazing. That's fantastic. Well, it's been an honor to have you on the show, sir.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have you back on again sometime. Again, pick your brain on some more shows that we didn't get to cover.
Okay.
And we hope that you have a great night, man. And I hope you get out in front of some more fans soon.
I'm hoping. I think I'm going to PowerCon, I think next week in Anaheim, the He-Man convention. So I'll be down there and I'll meet some He-Man fans, and hopefully everything will go good, and I'll meet some more people.
That is awesome. Well, that's great. And also got to say that that kid that was inking some of your issues of He-Man, that Bruce Timm, he turned out all right. He turned out all right.
Yeah, I think he did well for himself. Yes, he did really good. And we all started at the same company. We all started at Filmation.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, Filmation was a place that a lot of people got their starts of their career in the business in I think it's 81 or 80, one of those two. And something most people don't, I don't know if they know, but when I first got the job to be a storyboard artist, I didn't know it. I was the first Black storyboard artist for Saturday Morning. I did not know that was a glass ceiling that I got broke. For me, I was happy to get paid. I had bills to pay. I was happy. But this stuff, being the first one and all that, I didn't find that out till like maybe 10 years ago.
Wow. That's amazing.
I did not know that. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, it's been a delight talking with you, sir, and love all your work. And we hope you have a great night.
I will. Thank you for inviting me. This has been great.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks,
have
Larry.
a great night. See ya.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.